The group unearths a stone turtle that may act as a landmark pointing to a tunnel entrance, more like going in through the back door, related to Yamashita's riches in the Philippines. The turtle was found in the Philippines. Peter and Martin, two experts, have validated the significance of the turtle and explained how its placement and the direction in which it was facing could provide clues to the location of the buried wealth. Peter and Brad happen to discover a symbol that they assume represents a backdoor access to the treasure place while they are following the line of sight from the turtle. This discovery lends credence to the theory that the Japanese gained access to the caverns housing the riches by employing a stealthy entry. The group has found a new source of excitement, and they are resolved to find and enter through the elusive back door. This will bring them one step closer to the riches that was lost during World War II. The group that was searching for a tunnel entrance in the Philippines came across a stone shaped like a turtle, which they believe may be a marker for the entrance to the tunnel. They enlist the help of Peter and Martin, both of whom concur that the turtle represents an important discovery. They explain that the posture of the turtle and the direction it is facing could point them in the direction of the buried gold. Peter and Brad uncover a symbol that they believe represents a backdoor to Yamashita's wealth when they are following the line of sight of the turtle. It has come to light that the Japanese gained access to the tunnels housing the riches by utilizing a secret door located in the tunnel's rear. Following the excitement of their recent discovery, the team has resolved to locate the mountain's back entrance and make their way inside. Imelda Marcos asserted, without providing any evidence to support her assertion, in 1992, that the majority of Ferdinand Marcos's fortune came from Yamashita's gold holdings. The search for treasure places is being carried out by a large number of individuals and groups from both the Philippines and other countries. It has been alleged that treasure hunters have been responsible for a number of accidental fatalities, injuries, and financial losses. Lost Gold of World War II is an attempt to discover Yamashita's treasure 70 years after it was buried, based on trustworthy evidence from an eyewitness. While some mysteries have remained unsolved for a reason, such as a lack of credible information or an excessive reliance on tall tales, other mysteries have remained unanswered for a cause. The action takes place primarily on the island of Luzon in the Philippines, which serves as the backdrop for this exotic setting. During World War II, Japanese forces operating in Southeast Asia pillaged the region, stealing gold, ancient artifacts, and other valuables. After the United States prevented General Yamashita from returning to Japan in 1945, he purportedly buried all of the treasure in the Philippines after being prevented from returning to Japan. Following the conclusion of the war, he was put on trial in court and promptly executed, taking his long-hidden secret with him to the grave. After waiting for 7 decades, 2 treasure seekers have formed a partnership in order to investigate the alleged location of 175 treasure sites across the Philippines. Together with a group of 4 other investigators, Peter Struzzieri, who has a combined experience of 50 years in the treasure hunting industry, and John Casey serve as team leaders for this project. Their mission is to uncover the truth. Grandpa has consented to aid this party of Americans who are being followed by a video team, despite the fact that he is somewhat hazy on everything he truly knows and that he was compelled to help the Japanese when he was a child. Lost gold is not as simple as just following urban legends into the woods. There is more to it than that. Martin Flagg, an expert on symbols and codes, Brad Carr, and Jeremy McMillian, who run heavy equipment, Manny Paez, who is the team medic, and Martin Flagg are all members of the group that is searching for hidden money. In order to ensure the safety of the treasure vaults, General Yamashita set off a series of dynamite explosions. This introduces an additional element of danger into the equation. As a direct consequence of this, a great number of engineers and prisoners of war lost their lives in the process. After the treasure had been hidden, General Yamashita put it under a mountain in order to cover up practically all of the evidence. He did this so that no one would ever find it. Have I mentioned that there are also gas-filled booby traps placed up so that no one can claim their loot? This is one of the key hooks in the pilot, which focuses on a previous hole that was dug by earlier treasure hunters seeking for a tunnel but was left empty. The hole was left unfilled because it was left unfilled by those treasure hunters. It is reported that every hunter who came before them became ill, most likely because to the poison that the Japanese left behind for the other hunters. What can we say but that there are several layers of suspense? Throughout the course of the show, a number of strange symbols are discovered carved into a variety of rocks. It is supposed that these emblems were left behind for the Golden Lily, a secret establishment of Japanese nobility that may have initially claimed the jewels for themselves. Using the equipment that is available, the group makes the discovery that there may be a cyanide canister that has been broken at the bottom of the 25-foot pit. They do this by climbing into their big machinery and operating it in order to expel any potentially contaminated gas. John Casey, a construction contractor from the United States, has returned to the Philippines with a fresh group to continue the search for the gold that Yamashita hid there. John thinks, along with a large number of other people, that the Japanese general Tomoyuki Yamashita concealed treasure worth billions of dollars that was stolen by Japan during World War II in the Philippines, including possibly in this mountain. The Japanese are responsible for transporting the crates up the mountain. An eyewitness reported that unknown wooden crates were dragged up this mountain by prisoners of war and buried in tunnels, which were afterwards destroyed. On the basis of that narrative, John pursued a succession of cryptic symbols to 3 potentially fruitful locations, including a waterfall. There is something that is being concealed by this waterfall. A father and son mining team, Geo and Levi, as well as father and son geophysicists, Max and Colin and Rick Hurt, who looked for treasure on this mountain 20 years ago, are participating in the hunt. A tunnel was discovered by them the previous year. In the event that they are successful in opening up the tunnel, it might lead to everything. Levi and Geo, 2 miners, had been given the responsibility of emptying out the tunnel. They weren't going to have a good idea of what the heck is going on until they got inside of this tunnel. And until then, they weren't going to know much of anything at all. Levi and Geo, 2 miners, get an early start the following morning and continue their work on the tunnel. During the process of excavating the entry, they will need to set up a support fence in order to stop any rock slides that may occur. The miners are now able to begin excavating the tunnel entrance without endangering themselves because the surrounding area has been safeguarded. They were completely incapable of understanding what lay in store for them. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications for more exciting discovery updates, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when there is a new discovery. It was rumored that General Yamashita buried treasure deep within the mountains by digging tunnels and concealing it there. If they had not intended for this to be a long-lasting structure, they would not have included all of that timber. It was time to enter that location and look for that treasure. John gets his first glance at the reopened tunnel as the mountain's new day begins, and it is the tunnel that he had hoped to connect to a network that would eventually lead to the riches. During World War II, Japan was responsible for the capture and imprisonment of over 27,000 American service members. It is thought that Yamashita depended on those prisoners of war to create his extensive network of treasure tunnels. It almost appears as though down the tube there, on the post, there are numbers similar to these. There were numbers in the American format painted on the wall. It appeared as though they had been painted on there, almost as though they had been bleached onto the post. Strange items uncovered during treasure hunt. Click on the next video now to find out more. What may have taken force to find now looks closer than one can imagine. Research team are finally one step closer to the treasure. In the course of their exploration of the waterfalls, John and his colleagues uncover a significant discovery. John, who is thrilled by this discovery, has come to the conclusion that the gorilla face that they had previously found is directing them to these box markers, which suggest a lower plunge pool below. The group finds additional evidence in support of their hypothesis when they use a magnetometer to locate a big concentration of metal to the right of the waterfall. They come to the conclusion that draining the plunge pool will reveal a possible symbol of a golden flower and will confirm the existence of a tunnel network. The team believes that they are now one step closer to uncovering treasure as a result of this discovery. Yet, they are also aware of the hazards that are still to come. During the course of their exploration of the waterfalls, John and his colleagues came across a collection of Japanese box markers. These indicators point to the possible existence of 5 treasure chests, each of which is stuffed with riches. John, who is ecstatic with their find, thinks that the gorilla face they discovered earlier is pointing to these box markers, which in turn point to a lower plunge pool below. John has a hunch that there is a tunnel hidden beneath the waterfalls, and that this tunnel could be concealing a considerable amount of treasure. The group finds additional evidence in support of their hypothesis when they use a magnetometer to locate a big concentration of metal to the right of the waterfall. They decide to empty the plunge pool in order to get a better look, and in the process, they discover what may be a golden lily emblem, which confirms the existence of a tunnel system. The group believes that they are now one step closer to locating Yamashita's gold as a result of this discovery. Nevertheless, they are also aware of the risks that are still to come. During World War II, Yamashita is said to have stolen gold, diamonds, and historical artifacts from 12 different countries located in East and Southeast Asia. He then supposedly buried these valuables in a number of secret places throughout the Philippines. But Yamashita never got the opportunity to collect his loot, because in 1946, the Americans found him guilty of war crimes and sentenced him to death by hanging. A locksmith named Rogelio Rojas made the discovery in 1971 of one of Yamashita's hidden hoards. The hoard contained nearly a ton of gold in the form of gold bars, as well as a Buddha statue. And as if finding a ton of gold wasn't enough, Rojas later found out that the head of the Buddha statue could be removed, and that the interior of the statue concealed handfuls of uncut diamonds. After hearing the tale, the dictator who governed the Philippines with an iron hand until 1986, Ferdinand Marcos, is said to have ordered Rojas to be kidnapped and tortured so that he would tell the whereabouts of his treasure so that he could steal it. It has been said that Marcos was successful in retrieving the majority of Yamashita's wealth, but no member of Marcos's family had ever addressed the charges in public until February 1992. Imelda Marcos, the widow of Ferdinand Marcos, is quoted as saying in a 1992 Associated Press article that her late husband had uncovered Japanese treasure after World War II, but had not declared its presence to tax authorities because the sum was so large that it would be embarrassing. It appears that the dictator concealed the gold hoard in a number of different locations, one of which was within the walls of his own residence. Imelda, who is 91 years old today, continues to refuse to divulge any information on the possible storage locations of the remaining gold. During the day, Rogelio Rojas toiled away as a lowly locksmith in Baguio, which is situated a few hours travel time north of Manila. Treasure hunting was a hobby of his that he pursued in his leisure time. In the decades that followed World War II, it was a popular sport that at one point came dangerously close to becoming a national obsession in a country where Japanese soldiers were accused of robbing and hiding huge sums of gold and other treasures during their control of the Philippines. During this period, the Philippines was under Japanese occupation. It is said that General Tomoyuki Yamashita and his soldiers hid tons of gold and other looted riches in underground caverns and tunnels in the northern part of the country, with the aim of recovering all of it after the war. This is the basis for a local legend. However, Japan did finally surrender, and after being captured by U.S. forces, Yamashita was tried for war crimes and sentenced to death. He was put to death in 1946, taking the mystery of the location of the gold heist with him to the grave with him. Years later, when Rogelio Rojas was still a youngster, he encountered a Japanese guy who told him that his father had fought as a soldier under Yamashita, and that his father had once drawn him a map indicating the buried riches. The man also informed Rogelio that his father had once given him the map. Another man he encountered had worked as an interpreter for Yamashita, and he claimed that he had once been led to hidden tunnels in Baguio, where he had seen crates of gold and silver, along with a golden statue of Buddha. This man had worked for Yamashita. In 1970, Mr. Rojas, who was 27 years old at the time, organized a team of treasure hunters to unearth the gold and began digging day and night in an abandoned mine shaft below the Baguio hospital. They were successful in their mission. It took them 7 months to break into a network of underground tunnels, where they discovered a human skeleton dressed in a Japanese army uniform, along with bayonets, rifles, and other weapons. They found one tunnel that was approximately 1.8 meters high and 9 meters long that was entirely stuffed with crates. When Mr. Rojas opened the first box, he discovered 24 individual gold bars. After that, Mr. Rojas discovered a Buddha statue that was golden in color and stood around 90 centimeters tall in a concrete vault that was located beneath the floor of the tunnel. According to his calculations, it had to weigh at least 1 ton. It took 10 people to transport the statue and the gold bars to Mr. Rojas's house, when he discovered that the head of the Buddha could be detached. From within, he extracted handfuls of rough diamonds and put them on display. Mr. Rojas began the process of selling the golden Buddha as well as some of the gold bars before he could go back into the tunnels and acquire the rest of the hidden treasure. He talked with 3 possible purchasers. They all agreed that the statue was made of 22-karat gold after one of them had it appraised. Another buyer, Joe Oihara, came to an agreement with Mr. Rojas to place a deposit on the gold statue equal to 1 million pesos, which would be around $2 million in 2022 currency. But a crew of 8 armed thugs dressed in military clothes showed up a few days later. They were there. Without having first obtained a valid search warrant, the men broke into the home of the Rojas family and stole everything within, including the gold Buddha, the diamonds, the 17 remaining gold bars, the samurai swords, and the coin collection. Even the piggy bank that the Rojas children kept their savings in was taken, and members of the family were tortured. It found out that Oihara had been staying at the home of Josefa Marcos, the mother of Ferdinand Marcos, the tyrant who proclaimed martial law the next year in the Philippines. Marcos was the president of the Philippines at the time. After hearing about the gold from Oihara, Marcos himself issued the order to conduct the search and seizure operation at Rojas's residence. Judge Pio Marcos, the president's uncle, and the one who had previously granted Mr. Rojas a permit to dig for the wealth, forewarned him that he was now in danger and that he was likely to be killed because of it. The Rojas family, led by Mr. Rojas, left the town and went into hiding. Thrilling, right? Have you subscribed? Do so now for interesting findings like this. However, a few months later, he was apprehended and taken into custody. He was also subjected to cigarette burns, electric shocks while he was being tortured. Mr. Rojas was warned that he would never see his family again if he did not sign an affidavit clearing President Marcos of any responsibility in the theft of the golden Buddha. He was also threatened with death if he did not sign the document. He was coerced into signing a different affidavit in which he denied ever reporting a theft having occurred in his residence. The locksmith was eventually let free, but when he arrived at the political rally where he was scheduled to speak, hand grenades were tossed onto the stage where he was supposed to be sitting. A number of people were murdered or severely injured in the incident. Mr. Rojas went into hiding for an additional year, but when he tried to return to his house in Baguio for the second time, he was apprehended and sentenced to 2 years in prison for illegal possession of a pistol. Research team finally makes a breakthrough in treasure hunting. Click on the next video now to find out more.